This is chapter 1 of David Hamilton's book. It's a thought that counts. Chapter 1, Body and Mind. Body and mind are intertwined. Every thought, feeling and intention you have sends ripples throughout your body. The results depend upon the nature of those thoughts, feelings and intentions. They can be so powerful that they even affect your genes. A particular gene that might produce a disease or protect you from disease, for example, can be switched on and off according to how you process the daily experiences of your life. The implications of this are enormous. Every function of the human body is susceptible to thoughts and feelings. The entire body is actually hardwired to feel every emotion, and as it does so, our emotional challenges frequently show up as physical symptoms. Although there are many different causes of cancer, for instance, one factor that seems to have an influence is the suppression of negative emotion. It has been shown that cancer generally progresses fastest in people who hold in deep emotional pain that has often built up over many years. The great news is that releasing the pain can halt and even reverse the cancer. We regularly cure pains, aches, illnesses and diseases using our minds, although most of the time we are unaware of doing so. Science has proven that a person who believes they are receiving medicine, even though it is really a dummy, a placebo, can usually be cured. In one scientific study, patients were given morphine for serious pain every day for 3 days. But on the 4th day, the morphine was secretly swapped for a placebo, a salt water solution. Yet the patients experienced pain relief as they had before, and medical tests even recorded the same physiological changes as when they had received morphine. Their belief alone had neutralized the pain. Placebo effects like these rely on blind faith, but everyone can learn to harness the power of their thoughts and feelings to bring about positive health effects in their own body. Visualization techniques, for instance, are regularly used by thousands of people and have often produced what may be seen as nothing short of miracles. We can even heal each other. Numerous methods of healing by touch are used by a growing number of people all over the world. In fact, a 1998 study estimated that over 40,000 nurses in the USA practice such therapies. That number is much greater now. In the UK, a year 2000 estimate suggested there were around 3 times more practitioners of Reiki than there are nurses and doctors. There is a large volume of research to back up these therapies, much of it conducted under strict scientifically controlled conditions. Some of these studies even show that people can mentally influence the growth rate of biological organisms held in test tubes. Amazing, but true. Studies have also shown why it is that many people are aware of when someone is staring at them. Researchers found that people sitting in one room were responding to thoughts people in another room 25 meters away were having about them. While they were hooked up to scientific instruments, their skin showed minor changes in electrical resistance depending upon the type of thought the other people were having about them. All of these studies and many more will be discussed later in the book. So too will be the fact that according to our thoughts, feelings and beliefs, we create the experiences of our lives. The good news is that we can change aspects of our lives simply by changing our attitudes. Collectively, we also create events in the world. As well as showing that the body and mind are connected, science has also demonstrated that we are intimately connected to each other in such a way that every thought and feeling sends ripples throughout the entire universe. While each person has what may be called a mental and emotional climate, representing their general mental and emotional state, we all share a collective mental and emotional climate. And just as our personal climates influence what happens to us in our personal lives, so our collective climate influences what happens to us on a wide world scale. What goes on all over the world is merely a projection of how we collectively think and feel. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let us first explore some of the obvious ways in which the body and mind are connected. So, the body-mind. Have you ever realised that when you cry, it is your thoughts and feelings that cause your body to produce tears? Thoughts and feelings of happiness or sadness set in motion a series of internal events in your body that climax in a deluge of tears, mind affecting biology. Similarly, an embarrassing thought might turn your face red. A pleasant thought, on the other hand, can alter the rhythms of your heart and even raise the strength of your immune system. Sexual arousal is also a mind-body phenomenon. Imagination alone can cause hormonal changes in women and obvious physical changes in men. In these very common ways, thoughts and emotions influence your biology. On the health front, you are probably well aware that stressful thinking can cause a whole range of illnesses, and this has been well documented in the scientific literature. Have you ever imagined the dire consequences of not getting something done on time, or stressed yourself out at the thought of being late for an appointment? That sort of stress can eventually bring about the internal bodily changes that lead to heart disease. But ultimately, the events did not cause the heart disease, the mental processes did. It wasn't being late, it was your thoughts about being late. The health effects of how we think and feel are extremely far reaching. Most medical professionals will agree that the state of mind of many patients admitted to their surgeries is indeed responsible for their illness. What is less well known but also true is the reverse, that your biology can affect your thoughts and emotions. This is pretty obvious if you think about it. For example, when a woman has her period, there are hormonal changes in her body that cause emotional ups and downs which affect her thinking. Changes in her biology, therefore, bring about changes in her thoughts and emotions. Furthermore, chemical changes in the brain can make a person feel emotionally high or low. For example, opiate drugs like heroin and morphine can alter emotions. Endorphins, which are the body's own natural opiates, do a similar job. So mind-body communication goes both ways, mind to body and body to mind. And it is so smooth that many scientists now refer to the mind and body as the same thing, the body-mind. That's all in one word. Just as they refer to space and time as space-time. One cannot be disentangled from the other. A lot of modern research has been done into this. For instance, the Institute of Heart Math published a scientific study in 1995 in the American Journal of Cardiology, which showed the effect of some forms of positive or negative thinking on our heart. They found that thoughts of appreciation and anger produced opposite effects in the body. In the study, 12 people were asked to think appreciation, and another 12 were asked to think anger. Meanwhile, scientists monitored their hearts. After performing computer analysis on the heartbeats, the scientists discovered that the hearts of the people thinking appreciation had been beating more smoothly and regularly, called internal coherence, than the hearts of the people who were thinking anger. And this time of coherence has a knock-on effect on the rest of the body. It is well known that something that is vibrating coherently can entrain neighbouring objects to the same smooth rhythm. For example, if you were to swing a large pendulum and lots of smaller pendulums at different rates in a room, then leave and come back later, the smaller pendulums would be swinging to the same rhythm as the large one. The large pendulum would have entrained or inspired the smaller pendulums. Similarly, if you hit a tuning fork, it will inspire nearby tuning forks to vibrate at the same speed. Internal coherence in the heart entrains other organs into a similar coherent and healthy state. In a sense, positive thinking can cause all of the organs to sing to the same tune, bringing balance and harmony to the body. You have probably noticed in your personal life that when you are feeling consistently positive, people sing to the same tune as you, and your whole life develops a degree of balance and harmony. The same thing happens in your body. In further investigating the effects on the heart, Scientists at the University of Utah published a study in 2006 demonstrating that a hostile attitude can cause heart disease. The study involved 150 married couples between the ages of 60 and 70 and found that where the women were openly hostile, making statements such as, "You can be so stupid sometimes," there was a greater amount of hardening of the arteries, and when men were more controlling, making statements such as, "I'll do what you want to get you off, I'll do what you want to get you off my back," then there was more hardening in the arteries. In another study, the Institute of Heart Math also showed that positive and negative thinking could affect the body's immune system. Researchers monitored the amount of salivary immunoglobulin A after each person in the study who thought care and compassion or anger and frustration. Salivary immunoglobulin A is a part of the immune system found in the saliva that can neutralize the bacteria that enters your mouth from your food, for example. A large amount of it indicates a strong immune system, whereas a small amount indicates a weakened system. The heart math scientists found that care and compassion produced a stronger immune system than anger and frustration. In fact, they found that just 5 minutes of care and compassion caused the immune system to be elevated for 5 hours, while 5 minutes of anger and frustration depressed it for 5 hours. So we can create positive states of health by thinking positive. Wow. In 2005, a scientific study showed just this. When showed pictures that would usually bring about a negative emotion, for instance, a picture of a burns victim, test subjects were taught to change the meaning of the pictures in their mind. So for this type of picture, they might reappraise it as perhaps a picture of an actor wearing makeup to film a scene for a movie. As they did this, their level of negative emotion reduced significantly. Using MRI brain scans, the study even showed real changes in their brains as they reinterpreted the picture, and due to link between the mind and body, these changes would be expressed throughout the whole body. In everyday life, we often interpret things that we see and experience that we have based on assumptions. But often those assumptions are just that, no more. We do not know the real truth. But when they are negative, these assumptions do bring about real negative states in our mind and body. Some people use daily affirmations to keep their minds positive. For instance, a well-known affirmation created by French psychotherapist Émile Coué states, "Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better." Studies have revealed that such positive affirmations are enough to strengthen the immune system. Another route to generating a positive attitude is laughter, which is also mind-body communication. When you hear a funny joke or something funny, it is the mental associations you make that produce the laughter, causing your side-splitting movements. The physical shaking covered with the huge grin on your face is the last thing to happen. A lot more goes on beneath the surface, all initiated by your mental pictures. For instance, laughter increases oxygen levels in the blood. It also produces endorphins, which are the feel-good hormones, which explain why it makes you feel so good. It also affects the entire hormone, which is the endocrine system. Scientific studies have even shown that it strengthens the immune system and therefore helps the body to keep disease away. If you are remembering a time when you laughed heartily, then your body will probably be undergoing these kinds of changes right now. You might even be able to feel them. Heading meditation. So we know that looking at life light-heartedly and positively can create good health, but is not always easy to be so consistently positive. With the exception of Homer Simpson and a few meditation masters, most people's minds are chaotic, constantly jumping back and forth between topics and initiating a range of moods. And the body mirrors the mind. A chaotic mind inspires chaotic biology. Changing this is one of the goals of meditation. During meditation, as the mind becomes peaceful, the body's functions become more coherent and so the body becomes healthier. Consistent meditation helps retain this state in daily life. A 2006 report described a study where children with ADHD were taught meditation. The scientists found that through the practice of sitting with their eyes closed and focusing on a particular word for 10 minutes each day, the children experienced about a 50% reduction in stress and depression, and many of them reported that they felt consistently better. Meditation has been the subject of a great deal of scientific study, particularly since the arrival of Indian yogi Paramasana Yogananda in the USA in 1920. I hope I pronounced his name almost correctly. He described spiritual masters, whom he called saints, who lived to great ages, rarely contracted illnesses, and could perform great feats. Among other things, they practiced Kriya Yoga, which is a form of meditation based upon scientific principles. It's spelled Kriya, Kriya maybe, yoga. Since that time, several hundred scientific studies have been conducted on meditation and how it affects health. Some of them has pointed to why these saints could defy the normal aging process. One of the main reasons our bodies wear out as we age is because of a gradual deterioration of the endocrine system, which is the hormonal engine in the body. Excuse me. A drop in the levels of some important hormones accompanies this deterioration. For instance, levels of human growth hormone, which helps to keep us healthy and repair our bodies, and the hormone DHEA, which I'm not going to try to pronounce, which helps to minimize stress, improve memory, and protect the brain from damage, usually drop as we age. One of the main factors affecting the deterioration of the endocrine system is the wear and tear brought about by mental and emotional stress. So stress speeds up aging. You've probably heard stories of people under extreme stress whose hair turned white almost overnight. Meditation is often used as an antidote to stress and has been found to increase DHEA levels. In fact, in a meditation study, a group of 45-year-old males who regularly meditated were found to have 23% more DHEA than a similar group who didn't meditate. In women, the meditators had 47% more DHEA. So the men had 23% more and the women 47%. Another scientific study found that for every 20% increase in DHEA, there was a 48% drop in heart disease and a 36% drop in death from any cause. A study into transcendental meditation even found that people who practiced it for more than 5 years were physiologically 12 years younger than their chronological age. Could it be that meditation is better than Botox? Meditation even has a direct effect on the structure of the brain. Scientists from the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Sciences of Emory University in Atlanta published a study in the journal Neurobiology of Aging in 2007, showing that Zen meditation affected the grey matter in the brain. Normally, grey matter volume decreases with age, but when the scientist uses MRI scanners to compare the brains of 13 Zen meditators and 13 non-meditators, they found that the grey matter hadn't dropped in brains of the Zen meditators. The scientists discovered that Zen meditation had neuroprotective effects in that it protected the brain from the decline that normally occurs with age. This and other studies suggest that with the right kind of attitude, the brain doesn't need to decline with age. A separate study done at Massachusetts General Hospital in 2005 found that regular meditation using Buddhist insight meditation caused an increase in thickness of the prefrontal cortex in the brain, an area associated with attention. Don't forget, this book was published around 2005-06, so there's been much more now. Some forms of meditation use visualization, although visualization alone can have an effect on health. In the book Creating Miracles by Carolyn Miller, MD, there is a story of a man who used the visualization technique that he learned from Sakti Garban's best-selling Creative Visualization. Once inactive, this man had suffered liver damage through an illness. After many weeks in hospital, he was told that his liver was so badly damaged he would have to spend the rest of his life with tubes going in and out of his body. After reading about creative visualization, he decided to visualize having a healthy liver. Over the next few months, he spent many hours visualizing a process of cleaning his liver one cell at a time with an imaginary toothbrush. At first, he pictured it as a black blob, but using his imaginary toothbrush, he slowly began to clean it and pictured it turning a healthy pink. After a few months, he had an accident in his home and one of the tubes was torn from his body. He was rushed to hospital where the doctors prepared him for an operation. But when he was x-rayed, the surgeon was astonished to discover his liver had completely regenerated and was in perfect condition. There are many similar stories of the power of visualization. Just to emphasize, this guy writing it is a scientist, and there would be documentary proof about this. To create and to cure. As we know, thoughts can also create disease, but most people who fall ill are not even aware of the active role they might have played in the process. If everybody were to know how their thoughts and emotions could create and cure disease, then a lot of people would be changing what they were focusing on. The mind can have an active role in the creation of even the most serious of diseases. One of the major accelerators of cancer, for example, is suppressed negative emotion. While some people have an emotional release valve where they speak to someone about their issues and their pain when necessary, beat a pillow or shout or curse, others store it all up inside. Over a number of years, they might hold in a lot of emotional pain, anxiety, anger, frustration, or sentiment or resentment. Research has shown that there is a relationship between the growth of emotional pain and a tumour growing inside the body when a person has cancer. Please note, however, that this does not mean that suppressed negative emotion causes cancer, only that it may speed it up if a person has cancer. In 1989, James Gross, while at the University of California at Berkeley, actually published a summary of 18 individual scientific studies that had been reported in the scientific journals over the previous 30 or so years. This showed a clear link between the suppression of negative emotions and the progression of the cancer in cancer patients. One of the earliest of the studies dated back to 1954, when researchers studied the personality types of 50 patients and showed how they could be related to the development of various forms of cancer. It was clear that cancer progressed fastest in people who had high levels of anxiety but held it in, pretending that everything was fine instead of showing their worries or discharging them. The correlation was so clear in this particular study that the scientists were able to accurately predict the rate at which cancer would progress in 78% of people simply according to their personality type. A similar study in 1985 described an obvious relationship between the thickness of tumours and what is known as non-verbal type C personality. Tumours were thickest in this type of person, who was described as being cooperative and assertive and suppressing negative emotion. Just seeing how many pages I've got left. A similar relationship was found between HIV and suppressed emotion. In 1996, scientists at UCLA reported their findings in the journal Psychosomatic Science. They showed that HIV progressed at a rate that depended upon the degree to which gay men had come out of the closet. The scientists studied 80 HIV-positive gay men and discovered that the disease progressed more slowly in those that were open about their sexuality and most quickly in those that weren't. They found that men who were most in the closet reached a critically low immune count 40% faster than the others, developed AIDS 38% faster, and reached average mortality 20% faster. As well as showing the relationship between suppressing negative emotion and ill health, However, these studies also imply that releasing the pain can slow down and even cure serious diseases. In fact, in 1988, Pennebaker, Kellogg Glaser, and Glaser published a scientific paper that described a link between the immune system and the release of pent-up emotions. When their patients wrote about past thoughts and traumas and thoroughly resolved their feelings about them, their immune systems got stronger. In 1999, a similar experiment was conducted with asthma and rheumatoid arthritis patients. After writing about stressful experiences over a 3-session period, the asthma patients were found to have improved lung function and the rheumatoid arthritis patients to have reduced severity of the disease. A report in the medical journal The Lancet showed that expressing emotion even prolonged the life of cancer patients. This research involved 86 women with metastatic breast cancer who were invited to participate in a therapy where they were able to express stored emotions while being emotionally supported throughout the process. The women who underwent this therapy lived almost twice as longer as the women who didn't. Similarly, a 2002 report in the Journal of Clinical Oncology invited women who had breast cancer to write about either their deepest thoughts and feelings about a stressful experience or positive thoughts and feelings about their breast cancer experience. After 4 sessions of 20-minute writing over a 3-month period, the women reported significant reductions in negative physical symptoms as well as much reduced necessity for medical visits. In 2007, scientists at Ohio University showed that reducing stress could improve the health of cancer patients. They studied 227 breast cancer patients after surgery, and 114 of them were given psychological help. For the first 4 months, the patients met with 2 clinical psychologists every week for 1.5 hours in small groups of 8 to 12 patients at a time, followed by monthly sessions for the next 8 months. The sessions involved teaching the women to relax their muscles, positive ways of reducing stress and coping with their symptoms, and even ways to improve their diet and exercise. At the end of 12 months, the scientists measured a host of indicators of health, including the heart, lungs, liver, kidney, immune system, and even their emotional health, and found that the sessions had directly improved the health of the women. And their research showed that it was reduction in stress that was most improved. It was the reduction in stress that most improved the women's health. And of the different methods used to reduce stress, it was the women's level of group emotional support that was the best. In her life-changing book, The Journey, Brandon Bays describes curing herself of a basketball-sized tumour in her abdomen in 6 weeks, principally through releasing suppressed negative emotion. She described the process as like peeling off the layers of emotion as if peeling an onion. In a demonstration of the link between mind and body, layers of her tumour peeled off too. Of course, not everyone who suppresses negative emotion will get cancer or even become ill. These studies reflect a set of scientific experiments that homed in on a particular area, which is often the case in science. There are a large number of competing factors that can cause science and accelerate the cause of any disease. Also, even though there is an obvious link between emotion and the immune system, that does not mean that every time you are emotionally low, your immune system will be weakened, nor does it mean that every time you are happy, your immune system will be strengthened. There are many factors that can affect the immune system, and emotion is only one of them. Occasional anger, for example, is unlikely to cause any heart problems. Despite the evidence of the effects of anger on the heart, even regular anger might not be unhealthy, as it may provide a well-needed emotional release. Conversely, care, compassion, or appreciation may not make everyone healthy. But in general, due to the mind-body relationship, a healthy mind will have a positive influence upon the health of the body. So whatever you can do in your life to improve your mental and emotional health, whether that is adopting a more positive attitude to life, meditating, laughing, choosing to appreciate life, choosing to be more caring and compassionate, or talking through any issues and pain with a friend, colleague, or therapist, there will likely to be benefits to your health. The choice is yours. The choice is ours. That's the end of chapter 1.